I care about right now. I've been getting busy. I'm outside. I've been leading an example in a great way. You heard I've been.
Yo, Jimmy.
I break that nigga 30 minutes. They don't really know who Nas is. If he, son,
no, but he knows.
My son, my son can't tell you one Nas record. You heard? Like, let's keep it a buck here. I actually reached out to Nas to actually.
Whoa.
I'm doing my chicken head right now because I really want him to get on this record.
When one of hip-hop's greatest lyricists decides you've crossed the line, you better prepare for war. Nas, the Queensbridge legend who ended careers with a single track, just delivered a verbal assassination that left Jim Jones scrambling for answers. But this isn't just another rap beef. This is about respect, territory, and what happens when you poke the wrong giant. The question isn't if Jim Jones will respond. It's whether he can survive what's coming next. To understand this explosive confrontation between Nas and Jim Jones, we need to dive into the complex geography of New York hip-hop. These aren't just two rappers trading insults. They represent different eras, different boroughs, and completely different approaches to the culture. Nasir Jones emerged from the Queensbridge houses in the early 90s as hip-hop's poet laureate. With classics like Illmatic and It Was Written, Nas established himself as one of the genre's most respected lyricists. His pen game was surgical, his flow effortless, and his ability to craft narratives that painted vivid pictures of street life was unmatched. When Nas spoke, the culture listened. Meanwhile, Jim Jones carved out his lane as part of Dipset's Harlem Renaissance in the 2000s. The capo built his reputation not just on music, but on swagger, street credibility, and an unapologetic New York attitude. Jones represented a different kind of authenticity. Less introspective than Nas, but equally passionate about his neighborhood and his crew. The tension between Queens and Harlem and hip-hop isn't new. These boroughs have always had an underlying competitive spirit, each claiming to be the true heart of New York rap. But what makes this beef particularly fascinating is the generational divide. Nas represents the golden era of conscious lyricism, while Jim Jones embodies the flashy, street-orientated wave that dominated the mid-2000s for years. Both artists existed in their respective lanes without major conflict. Nas continued to release critically acclaimed albums, cementing his legacy as one of the greatest to ever touch a microphone. Jim Jones maintained his Dipset connections while building his own empire from music to business ventures. But in the world of hip-hop, respect is currency, and disrespect is debt that must be collected. The seeds of this conflict were planted months ago, brewing beneath the surface of New York's hip-hop scene. It began with what seemed like harmless commentary when Jim Jones questioned Nas's relevance in today's rap landscape during a podcast appearance. Jones claimed that legendary status doesn't mean current relevance, suggesting that newer artists brought more energy and street credibility to New York hip-hop. Those words traveled fast through hip-hop's digital grapevine. Fans immediately began picking sides, with Queensbridge supporters defending their hometown hero and Dipset loyalists backing their capo. Social media became a battlefield of borough pride and generational loyalty. Nas initially remained silent, a strategic move that only added fuel to the speculation. But anyone familiar with the Queensbridge legend knew that silence didn't mean acceptance. It meant preparation. The real catalyst came when Jim Jones doubled down during a radio interview, making statements that crossed a line hip-hop historians knew should never be crossed, questioning Nas's authenticity and street credibility. Jones suggested that if he and Nas were both coming up in today's climate, it wouldn't even be close. He claimed there was a difference between being poetic and being real, implying that Nas's lyrical prowess was somehow less authentic than his own street-orientated approach. Those comments lit a fuse that would explode into something neither artist anticipated. The response came swift and devastating. Nas released a track that wasn't just Adisk's song, it was a masterclass in lyrical destruction. Over a haunting beat that sampled classic New York jazz, Nas delivered bars that dissected Jim Jones's career, credibility, and claims with surgical precision. The track didn't just attack Jim Jones personally, It systematically deconstructed his arguments, his career trajectory, and his place in hip-hop history. Nas reminded listeners about the difference between lasting impact and temporary relevance. Between building a legacy and writing others' coattails, he addressed Jones's comments about authenticity by highlighting his own street credibility, while simultaneously showcasing the lyrical superiority that made him a legend. The hip-hop community erupted. Social media platforms exploded with reactions, with many declaring the beef over before Jim Jones could even respond. Established artists found themselves caught in the middle, respecting both parties but clearly understanding the lyrical gap between them. Music industry insiders revealed that Jim Jones's team was scrambling to craft a response that wouldn't further embarrass their artist. The problem was clear. How do you respond to someone whose entire reputation was built on ending careers through pure lyricism? Jim Jones attempted to downplay the situation through Instagram posts, claiming he was just expressing opinions and that the whole thing was being blown out of proportion. But hip-hop fans weren't buying it. Comment sections filled with users questioning Jones's decision to start a battle he couldn't finish. Then came the moment that changed everything. Jim Jones, backed into a corner and facing mounting pressure from fans and peers, made the decision that would define this entire conflict. During a heated Instagram Live session, Jones issued what could only be described as a physical challenge, suggesting they settle their differences beyond just music. The live stream exploded with viewers. Screenshots circulated instantly. Hip-hop blogs picked up the story within minutes. Jones had just escalated a lyrical battle into something potentially dangerous. The response from the hip-hop community was immediate and overwhelming. Veterans began posting messages about protecting legends. Queens-based artists rallied around their borough's greatest representative. Music industry executives reportedly began making phone calls trying to de-escalate a situation that could have legal and physical consequences. This wasn't just about rap beef anymore. It was about two grown men with real crews and real stakes potentially heading toward a confrontation that could end careers or worse. As the hip-hop world waits in intense anticipation, this conflict reveals the culture's eternal struggle between respecting its legends and embracing evolution. Jim Jones's frustration represents a generation caught between the golden eras, shadow and their own desire for recognition. Meanwhile, Nas's response demonstrated why legends achieved that status, not just through past accomplishments, but through their ability to remind everyone why they earned respect in the first place. The aftermath has already impacted both careers. Nas gained renewed relevance among younger fans discovering his lyrical prowess, while Jim Jones faces questions about his judgment and battle readiness. Sometimes the most damaging wars are the ones you start but can't finish. What's your take on this explosive situation? Drop one word in the comments that captures your reaction. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into hip-hop's biggest conflicts and untold stories. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our documentary breakdowns.